want to do question 5?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, question 5.
I have a short answer to this. Do you want me to go first? You can go.
Sure.
Okay, so I think technically people should have free speech because I feel like everybody should have their own opinion, and even though it may not be something you agree with, that's the whole point of opinions, is to like show like a different sides of an argument. And I think like even if it necessarily isn't morally right, you should still allow them to say what they want to say because it's technically their right. Because that means you'd be repressing them technically because you're not letting them speak their opinion. Also, but like an example of like when you can't have free speech though is libel, because you can't publish anything that's false technically. I mean, you can't, okay, I guess magazines do, but like in a way you can't do anything that tarnishes someone's name that's false.
They do that in like all the time.
No, I know,
In
but
all
that's
of-
technically illegal. It's called libel.
Well, then why are they
People
doing
break the law though.
Yeah, people do break the law, but that's libel. So that's an example of something you
I
can't do.
said I disagree with things Jensen said because yeah, it's good for people to say like what they think, but I think like when people give lies and things that are like a bad influence to everyone, I don't think it's right for them to like say out in public. Like you can say it maybe like to your friends and stuff, but like places like TV and stuff, people might say things that are like offensive or racist or like threatening, and I think it just causes a lot more conflicts because like if there's a rumor, like then it just makes everyone mad, and that sometimes like conflicting opinions that everyone has can also cause problems, and things can just like ruin people's reputation. But overall, I think it's just if they're responsible about what they say.
Yeah, that's true.
I disagree. I think that we all should be able to speak our minds because otherwise the government would just be restricting us from saying like our opinions that go out against their like what their
Like-
beliefs and like what they're saying. So if we didn't have freedom of speech, the only opinion being shared would be the government's, and then nothing would change or improve. And an example that I had was Martin Luther King's speech. Like if we didn't have freedom of speech, then no one would be able to speak out against like the racism that was happening.
Yeah.
And so we might still live in a country where different races are highly discriminated against if he wasn't able to give that speech.
Okay, so for me, I don't think something like speech is hard because you can't say all the time it's allowed, all the time it's not allowed. It's one of those like gray area things. So you can't really say, you can always say what you want to say. You can't without like repercussions for it. So like in a situation I think it's not okay is like bullying. Like technically you're allowed to say whatever you want, but there's times when it's just completely uncalled for and horrible, and it just like ruins a person's life. So I think like we can't say free speech always needs to be necessary because there's things like that you can say to break someone down, and that's just not acceptable in any circumstance, even if that's your opinion. But at the same time, I think that it is okay, like political beliefs, or like way back when like the earth is flat versus round. Like we are nothing if we can't speak what we believe, because if something's wrong we can't bring change about that thing. So we need to be able to like speak about what we believe is wrong, but when we're doing it to break others down, then it's not acceptable.
Yeah, so when I was saying like legally, like free speech is in like what you're allowed to say. I get your bullying example because that's absolutely awful, and I would never endorse anything like that. But I think that like an example for like what you said, like the government with like taking away like our like freedom of speech, it would be really similar to North Korea, like how you're not allowed to say anything bad about the leader, and they're not, like it's illegal. And so I think something like that where it's so strict and there isn't any like civilization or like any moving businesses, I think that would be a really bad idea.
About talking about political leaders, we all do it a lot, and like we're really focused on being really politically correct, which takes out like beliefs of it, so you can't
That's
like
very true.
say anything
Yeah.
without offending anyone. But at the same time, like in times of war, if we're like, let's say, well, like in history we're learning about like the Vietnam War, and like a lot of people talked bad about our president that time, but I feel like that's a time when we should not be allowed to like speak badly about the person we elected just because we don't necessarily agree with it, because in war we need to come together as a people, and saying these like horrible things about the person we elected to be our president is dividing us, and we need to
In World War I, wasn't it illegal to publish anything
Yeah,
bad about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was something that they agreed with.
It's not happening anymore.
When you were talking bad about our president-elect, it made me think about there's this guy who is, for the past like 30 years or whatever, has been doing political like surveys, kind of, where he has a room full of people who he like asks questions about like political things like elections and stuff like that. And this year he did that as well, but his little discussion failed immensely because everybody just kept talking over each other, and they were just arguing nonstop, and just one person would have to like scream to state their belief, but they'd have like 4 people talking over to them, and just nobody was listening to everyone. So I think that in a way, while yes, they're using their freedom of speech, they should have like dialed it down and like have been able to actually listen to other people. Yeah.
Okay, should we move on?
Okay, let's move on to 6 because we're like running out of time.
Okay. Number 6.
Okay.
Okay, so I said words do have power because they can inspire and show your deepest feelings and create an entirely different world from ours. They can also attack and show your deep-rooted anger that is otherwise indescribable. And for example, for something that like inspired like an entire like a population, it's not entirely because it was a civil war, but the Gettysburg Address, he inspired just with like a few short paragraphs, right?
Mhm.
I think it's like 3. He like what?
Oh wait, no, never mind. One speech.
It's known as such like a memorable speech because of the impact it had. Just the way he was able to word things. Just it wasn't really. It's not even describable. Like how you can affect somebody or a group of people just by saying the right things.
On the complete opposite side of being inspiring, words with power can also degrade you. For example, like in the halls when people are like, oh, she like looks ugly, or she's fat, like that definitely has power to that one person, as like you can tell with all the body shaming and just like suicidal thoughts many teen girls have because of rumors
guys.
in the hall.
I agree with what they said. I think that words have lots of power and can greatly influence your life because like they can be good like when you're like complimenting outfits or hair or like something that makes them feel good about themselves, but they can also be super hurtful too. Like if you insult someone or make them feel bad about themselves, they can also like encourage people. Another thing is about like rumors that spread, like those are like words that like have a lot of power and can like ruin someone's reputation. And a couple of examples from like movies I said is like Mean Girls, because they use like a lot of rumors that are spread and mean things that are said about people, which had a lot of power in it. And I said Aladdin because when he had 3 wishes, just like the 3 like things he said had a lot of power over him. Yeah.
I also said that words have a lot of power, but instead of like saying they inspired, I was talking about the criticism, and that like words can share ideas and opinions towards others that one takes into consideration, and we take on what other people say about us as criticism, and it influences how we see ourselves and how we act. Some people take criticism too harshly and don't move forward, while others use it as fuel to become a better version of themselves. An example of that I used was the surfer Bethany Hamilton, and she lost her arm to a shark, and a bunch of people said that she would like never surf again, and there was no way that she could even like get back on a surfboard. But she took that criticism and she proved them wrong, and she like just worked harder and used it as fuel to become a better surfer and like one of the best surfers.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Jensen!
Jeez.
Okay, so I said that if words meant nothing, we'd have a lot less problems in this world, but they obviously do mean something because issues are everywhere. So violence begins and ends with communication. So today, words that hurt you don't leave a physical mark, and it festers inside of you, and you can't expect much sympathy, thus taking what?
Speak louder.
Oh, I thought I was speaking loud. And it like takes control of like what you do and what you decide to do. So like the words that you hear often leave worse scars than like physical things. And also in history, Nelson Mandela, when he got elected after he had been in like prison and stuff, he said, "I walked towards my freedom. I know if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." And so he captured his nation with his speech and with his words and taught them lessons to change. So words can be used to get elected and rally support with your ideas. And communication is key. Yes or no? No means no.
That's all, folks. Thanks for watching.
This is our discussion.
Bye.